talking for 2 weeks now about we're talking in general about the book, The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. And we have this book on our website, Living Peace Now. So you can click on it and read it on the website. And where we've been talking about the third agreement, don't make assumptions, which is chapter 4. And I intended to finish that agreement today. So we'll move on next week to the fourth and final agreement. Does anyone remember what the first agreement was? They kind of all go together. If you have the book, you can do a quick look. There's a page where all the chapters are. Yes.
Be impeccable with your word.
Yes, be impeccable with your word. And impeccable is a big word. It's not a word that people use every day, but it's a good word to understand. Can anyone tell me what it means? Abu, do you know what it means? Well, if he knows Latin roots, because the peck is the essence of the word. Eric, do you know what it is? What it means?
Yes.
Impeccable. Tell us.
And what?
What does the word impeccable mean? The first agreement is to be impeccable with your word. Mohammed, you got any idea? I've got everybody on the spot now. On the spot means you're in the hot seat. You got to produce an answer. Okay, nobody knows what the word means.
Yeah, impeccable. I think false list. Perfect. Free from sin or fear.
Free from seeing or hearing?
This correct?
You mean
Imperfect is
blind
the
and
name
deaf?
used more than once by the U.S. Navy. Impeccable.
I think you might
The
want
World War II. World
War
War
II.
II. Fleet.
Okay,
Mine.
let's
Whipper.
look at the suggestion that Abu made in the chat. Be perfect with your word. Yeah, that could work.
I
So,
kind of,
Karen?
I kind of see
Yes.
where he's coming from, though, because he's saying for your word to be without doubt, I think is what he was saying.
Thank you,
Okay.
Karen. Is that correct, Eric?
Sorry.
Did Karen say what you were saying?
About the impeccable.
About impeccable, yeah.
Yeah, as I said, impeccable. A World War II. Fleet. Miss Whipper.
World War II?
Yeah. Fleet
Hear that.
Minesweeper.
Can you put that in the chat? Because I'm not understanding that.
Yeah. An ocean
Right.
surveillance they're still placed into a service on.
I don't think
Yeah,
so.
but actually, I was wrong about this definition of the word. Yeah, sorry for doing that.
Yeah, it's okay. It's not a big deal. But yes,
Yeah,
I
I should
think
give up.
that's,
Yeah, I should give up and wait for my teacher to correct me very well or something like that.
well, Abu's suggestion is we can work with Abu's suggestion. Perfect. Can you explain that a bit more, Abu, please?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, loud
Yes,
and clear.
yes. I think that imperfect, impeccable can mean also perfect, but as a human being, it is very difficult to be perfect. Sometimes we do things that we are not proud of. Reason why I can say that it is very difficult to be perfect.
That's true. So it doesn't really mean we're agreeing to be perfect, but it does mean that when we say, I am impeccable with my word, knowing that we're human beings, we're not perfect, we can say, I'm impeccable with my word because I always take my word seriously. When I have said something, when I have promised something, I keep my promises, or if I can't, I communicate about why and apologize. And I realize how powerful what I say is, so that what I say, I know can make people feel good, feel cared about, feel loved. And it can also make people for years feel imperfect, feel uncared for, feel um, feel abused. Our words have tremendous power. So becoming aware of that is a part of impeccability. Literally, it means that we are really careful with what we say, so that most of the time you can trust that when we say something, we mean it and we're going to do it. And we are helping and not harming. So, if we overhear someone else talking about us and they say something negative, like, well, she's really dumb. If you hear somebody saying that about you, not to you, but to somebody else, that impression lasts a long time, and it colors your beliefs about yourself. You have to work really hard to erase the power of what that person said. So being aware of the incredible power of what we say. That's being impeccable with our word. So that's the first agreement. And the second agreement,
Don't take anything personally.
okay, good. Don't take anything personally. So you heard somebody saying something nasty about you. You don't know why or how that person got that impression. You don't know. We never know what's going on in other people's minds at a given moment. And so we think we heard something and we take it all serious and we get all bent out of shape. It's a nice expression. It means we're upset, bent out of shape. Put that in the chat. It means emotionally upset. And we suffer and we say things about the person that we thought said or did what we thought we heard. And I've done research on this. And when I ask people, I thought, say this 2 days ago. What were you talking about? Almost 100% of the time, people will say something like, well, I wasn't even thinking about you. That's the bottom line. We're always thinking about me. And so is everybody else, always thinking about them. And we're not aware about what other people are thinking. It would be good for us to become aware that other people are always thinking about themselves. So no matter what they say, or no matter what they do, it usually has to do with them, not with me. And that's what that agreement means. No matter what you think you hear or what you think you see, don't take it personally. Don't take it as being what you think you're seeing or hearing. Because when you ask and find out what they were really thinking, it wasn't about you. I don't care how clear it is in your ears or in your eyes. It's not what you think. Guaranteed, 100%. Even the people that always bug you, and you're sure they're doing it on purpose, I guarantee you, when you start to talk with them, they're thinking about themselves and about something that is causing them pain. And it doesn't really have to do with you. And that's important to become aware of. Because A, it makes it much easier to stay happy. And B, it makes it much easier to maintain peaceful relationships. When we care about the other person enough to ask. And that comes into the third agreement, which we're going to look at today and then talk about, which we have been talking about for a couple of weeks now. And the third agreement is don't make assumptions. In other words, don't act on what you think you see and hear. Just ask. Know the facts. Know what's going on for the other person. So when somebody, your sister or your brother or your dad or, your school friend or whoever says something to you when you come home or when you see them that kind of sets you off the wrong way, stop it. Just stop what you think they're talking about and care about them enough to ask and find out. you may find out that every time they see you, you're making them think that you don't like them. But that's a good thing to find out, because you can clarify why you're doing what you're doing. And most often, you're not even aware that, I know that's true for me, that if I do something that people get mad about, I'm not really aware that I'm making them angry. You know, I'm like, what? But learning where they're coming from, I can say, oh, I'm sorry that that reminds you of a person that, you know, from your past life, for instance. I won't do that way anymore. Most of the time, it's not stuff that's important to us. You know, we can come to an agreement. So let me share my screen and we'll go through the rest of it. Okay. So pretty much the sadness and the drama in our life is based on taking things personally and making assumptions. Because if we never do that, we'll never have somebody say something that makes us think they don't like us, because we're going to ask. So all of us we go through the day thinking about, okay, how do I feel about this? What does this mean to me? How is this going to change my beliefs about my afternoon? What am I going to have to do different? You know, do I have time to do A, B, and C? There's all kinds of questions about us that we're all day long, we're thinking about. So when we encounter other people, we're thinking about our day, our requirements, our schedule, our time pressures. We're not thinking about the other person that we meet for lunch. We're thinking about us, right? And if they arrive late, for instance, we make up a story. We think, oh, they don't take me seriously. We can think that. But most of the time, it's not about us. Whatever caused the lateness. We had that situation arise actually a couple of nights ago. We were meeting a French friend for dinner. And we were going to be, you know, within 1 or 2 minutes of being on time. And I turned down a street and there was this truck in the middle of the street backing up. So I waited and it backed up and then it moved forward. And I thought, okay, this time it'll get where it needs to go and I can go past. But it didn't. It backed up again and then went forward again. And the whole time it's right in the middle of the whole street. And it did that about 5 times. And then it backed up and it was going to dump its load. Well, I thought that when it got there that I'd be able to go by. But guess what? There was a whole bunch of cars piled up on the other side. So it was a residential street with possibility of 2 cars passing. And there was this truck sitting in the middle of it. And even when it backed up kind of to the side, nobody could go anywhere. And it took about 4 more minutes to dump its load. It didn't go away far enough so anybody could get by it. And then it had to go forward and back up, and go forward and back up, and go forward and back up, and go forward and back up before it could finally go straight. And there were then about 10 cars backed up on the other side, about 10 cars backed up on our side. And literally, we were all stuck. We had to, really work hard and finally the cars coming from the other direction figured out a way to get by it. And there were 10 cars. And so that took another 7 or 8 minutes. And finally, it was about 10, 12 minutes it took. And we were 15 minutes late for our dinner appointment. And the friend that we had the dinner appointment with had had a really rough day. And the restaurant was crowded and there were people waiting for seats. And she was so bent out of shape because we were 20 minutes late because of the stupid truck. And she was so angry with us for not taking her seriously and arriving late and yada, 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 yada. So, we started the meal kind of angry with each other. And, after a while, after we started to eat, she realized, well, okay, I guess I can forgive. I mean, we couldn't do anything about having arrived late. We couldn't get out of there. We couldn't go anyplace else. We just had to wait. And we were sending her pictures, phone pictures of the truck and where it was, just so that she'd know, but she was still mad. Anyway, we finally, 2 days later, have made peace about it. And so now it's become a kind of a tease. The next time we've made an agreement to get together for dinner, she's got all kinds of things about being on time, and it's turning into a joke, which it will remain, I'm sure. But that's an example of how, I was tense, knowing that every time the damn truck backed up and went forward and went back, went forward and went back, went forward and went back, that it was making us later. And then our friend was really mad at us. So it was not a pleasant day. If, nobody had made any assumptions, I would have been able to say, oh, wow, what a bummer. There's a truck in our way. And just be okay with it. Eventually it was going to go away and we'd be able to get where we were going. And she would have been able to think, okay, they're being stopped by a truck. It's okay. They will get here when they can get here. It's not a big deal. But instead we had a couple of days of being tense with each other, unhappy with each other, for no real reason other than we were making assumptions. So the next time you find yourself being upset with somebody, ask yourself, am I taking something personal that probably isn't? Am I making an assumption about what they're thinking that's making happen what I don't like? Why don't I just assume that, okay, this wouldn't be happening if it didn't need to? And I trust them and I know that they care about. And that's it. In a way, it's when we go through a drama like this, it's like two people that are saying scripts to each other and they're in two different plays or two different TV shows at the same time. And nothing makes sense like it should. That's what happens when we make assumptions. So one very common assumption, I've done it a number of times, I know I have, and other people do too. That happens pretty much every day or every other day. Somebody starts to say something and we think, oh, I know that subject and I have something to say on it. And so we interrupt and we take over the conversation and run with it. And the person who started the conversation doesn't have a chance to say what they wanted to say. Have you ever been on the receiving end of that? You want to share something with a friend or a relative just because you want to share it with them, and they tell you about their experience on a similar topic at another time and tell you the whole story and ask you a bunch of questions about what they said. And you never get to finish the conversation that you wanted to start. Have you ever been there? Anybody?
I have, and I've also been guilty of doing that, of being the person who went into great detail about my situation and forgetting that the other person was looking for some sensitivity to what they were saying. So,
Right.
yeah.
Because when you say something to start a conversation with a friend, it's because you want to, you want to share that experience with them. You have an intention. And when somebody feels really competitive and jumps in and kind of hijacks the conversation and makes it theirs, you don't get a chance to say what you wanted to say. And, it happens. That's an assumption. That's an assumption that we make when somebody says a magic word that we have big feelings about, that, oh yeah, I got a lot I want to say about that, and here I go. So that's part of making no assumptions, is thinking, okay, so this is so-and-so's conversation right now. I need to find out where they're coming from. What is the problem or the issue or the pleasure, the joy that they feel that they want to share in engaging in the conversation? I will be impeccable with my word by inviting them to share and to finish, to share everything they wanted to share. In cosmic reality, there will be time for me to say what I want to say too. Maybe not today, but soon. So when we agree to make no assumptions, an important part of the agreement is to allow the person who introduces the topic the chance to finish presenting it and to feel heard. That is such a need that everybody shares, to feel heard. And it's a simple gift to give to somebody else, to hear them and to show that we care about what they're saying. Okay. I'm going to have to get out of this and start it up again. And maybe it's telling me, hey, enough already. I guess it is. So yes, it's always better to ask questions than it is to make assumptions. And the picture here kind of says it all. People that wanted to talk to each other, but they got off on a bad footing with an assumption. And the thing that we basically assume always with our friends and with our family members is they can read our minds. They know what we're thinking, right? Whoever they are. And the fact is, we can't. We can't read people's minds. We can't know what they're thinking. We need to ask and listen. And that is the basis for a successful relationship. When we're not making any assumptions, when we're listening and caring, that is when our word becomes impeccable. When we love and care about somebody, it's for who the person is now. I know people who have started whole relationships based on, oh, I can fix this person. I can change them. Do you know any couples that started out on that basis and continue on that basis with the desire to change each other? It happens in couples. It doesn't really happen all that much with casual friends. You know, you basically take friends as they are. You like them or you don't like them. But when you choose a relationship, sometimes you like some things about the person and you don't especially like other things. And impeccability means, and not making assumptions means, we love them just the way they are. What an incredible challenge, and what an incredible blessing. Because as we know who people really are, that is a gift to us. It means they trust us and we trust them. And that is beautiful.